It's impossible to be disciples of Jesus and let anyone or anything take the place in your life which he claims. He is jealous. He will not share that position with any other person or thing. And then in verse 33 of the same chapter, he says, so likewise, whoever of you does not forsake all that he has cannot be my disciple. Not, may not, or will find it difficult, but cannot. In all those three passages, Jesus says explicitly, cannot be my disciple. In other words, if there's anything that you're holding on to that you will not let go for the sake of Jesus, you cannot be his disciple. Yep. That doesn't mean necessarily that you have to take all your possessions and give them to the poor. That's one requirement that Jesus made of one person. We'll look at it in a moment. But what it means is anything in your life that is more important to you than obeying Jesus, you have to let go. And I'll just give you a little illustration from my own life. God saved me in the British Army in Yorkshire in 1941. I always thank God for the people of Yorkshire. If there are any here, God bless you. They showed kindness to a poor, hungry soldier, took me into their home, and introduced me to Jesus.
Hallelujah.
Then I was in the army for 4.5 years in the Middle East, in North Africa, and then in Palestine. At that time, God called me specifically to serve him in Palestine. When the time came for my discharge from the army, the British Army owed me a passage back to England. It was my right. I was making preparations to go, and God gave me, I don't know whether he does it with you, but he gave me a tongue and an interpretation. And in essence it said, the ship is in the harbor, the sails are up, everything is ready. If you get on board now, you can go. If you miss it now, you'll never go. And so I knew that I had no option but to obey God. At that time, my dear grandfather, who was one of the closest members of my family to me, was dying of cancer. I was his only grandson. He longed to see me, and I longed to see him. But I had to say no. Then King's College, Cambridge, which was my college, wrote me a very flattering letter saying, if you'll come back, we'll give you this and this and this. In other words, you'll have an assured academic career at one of the most distinguished academic institutions in Britain. I hope you'll agree with that, even if you're from another college. I had to write back. I was not tactful. I wouldn't do it again, but I said, I can't come. I've become a Christian. So I gave up my family, my country, my career, and then when we had to buy a house in order to save our lives, and I can't go into the details, I gave up my life savings. Now, God didn't say to me, you cannot be my disciple unless you give up everything, but he just caused me to do it. And only afterwards did I realize that I'd fulfilled the conditions for discipleship. Now, I'm not suggesting that God will deal with any of you in exactly the same way, but his conditions remain the same. Anyone who will not forsake all that he has cannot be my disciple.